Central Bank of Kenya Governor Patrick Njoroge has warned against the continued ballooning of the country's debt burden, saying it is unsustainable. CBK Governor told the National Assembly to aid the country manage its debt, warning that stretching the debt burden further could paralyze service delivery. Chemutai Goin has more.
With the country's current debt level standing at a whopping 8.6 trillion shillings, and with the current economic situation expected to once again push the fifth administration into further borrowing to finance the campaign manifesto, Central Bank of Kenya Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge called for caution.
When debt becomes balloons beyond compare, then it becomes a problem that has to be dealt with. So we have to manage debt so that it helps us instead of hindering us.
The governor avers that the country was walking a tightrope and that hard decisions have to be made if crucial services were to be delivered.
Debt service, so you can see there was a time it was 33%. It came down to 16, 15%. And now it's up, in the 50% range, above 40%. So clearly we are tight. So every shilling that we collect in revenues, 40 cents, or every 100 shillings, 40 shillings go to debt service. So you begin to ask yourself, but wait a second, what about salaries? What about medicine? What about building roads? So the point is, like, you would also need to worry about this if you had this problem personally. You sort of say, hey, wait a second, I'm not at a point where I'm falling, I'm collapsing, but surely I need to do something about this.
While noting the country's fiscal space was narrowing by the day, Njoroge called on the august House to consider legislative proposals that would boost the country's economic performance.
Your job is not just to repay debt. Your job is to make sure that the lives, and my job as well, is to actually affect the lives of the 50 million Kenyans that we are responsible for, that have given us the respective mandates.
At the moment, commercial loans gobble up 1/3 of external loans, with domestic debt standing at 3.9 trillion shillings. This is expected to rise in the coming months as the government sources for funds to finance its activities. He called on the 13th Parliament to ensure the country stays afloat by settling its debt to avoid punitive measures.
We have a deficit relative to the GDP of about 5. For this year, we are projecting, last year it was 5.5% of GDP. And to July, it's 5.1, and we are projecting that to be 5.9. Now, I always make the point that the sweet spot for us is 5%. So we are a bit on the higher side, but it's around where it should be. So 5.9 isn't a problematic thing, particularly because we are financing it through other means.
The 12th Parliament had in June raised the debt ceiling to allow the government to borrow more to finance various projects and bridge the country's fiscal deficit. Having taken office at a time when the country's economy is struggling, the Ruto administration will have to pull all the necessary stops to institute measures that will help inject fresh impetus in the economy by also managing the country's debt burden. Chemutai Goin, Citizen TV at the Safari Park Hotel, Nairobi.